Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a bit different, really getting into the nuts and bolts of language instruction.
Yeah, we're looking at a specific method, almost like a blueprint, designed for speed and function.
Exactly. Our mission really is to analyze this blueprint for functional fluency. Think of it as a kind of structured shortcut for mastering workplace English.
And specifically that core skill of describing a physical space, an office, a room, with real clarity, no fuzziness.
It's quite a remarkable piece of instructional material we're digging into, mainly because it just prioritizes efficiency, doesn't it? It's not about learning every single grammar rule out there.
No, definitely not. It's focused. It's about how you create accurate spatial mapping in English. So this isn't for passing a grammar test necessarily.
Right, it's more practical.
It's about building a language toolkit, something you can use immediately to, well, describe, inventory, maybe even navigate any professional environment you walk into.
Okay, so for you listening, we're essentially pulling out two key components from the source material we've analyzed. First, there's the foundational grammar, and we're focusing specifically on those declarative structures, there is and there are.
The absolute bedrock.
And second, the vocabulary. A really practical, high-utility list of words you'd find in, a typical modern workplace.
And when you put those two together,
that's when you start to achieve that functional mastery in describing spaces.
And it might seem overly simple just focusing on there is and there are, but that structure is genuinely the key. It unlocks that efficiency we mentioned.
How so?
Well, linguistically, it's often called the existential there. And it's just fundamentally critical because it does two jobs at once. It establishes existence and location simultaneously.
Ah, okay, like a signal.
Exactly. It acts as an immediate inventory signal. So if you really master the function of this existential there, you're instantly telling your listener, right, listen up, I'm now mapping this physical space out for you. It sets the stage immediately.
Okay, let's unpack that foundation then. Dive straight into the grammar bit. The material we looked at gets right to it, laying out the basic rule for describing what exists in a place.
And it operates on a really clear binary distinction. Is it singular or is it plural?
Right. One thing or more than one thing.
And this dual function, it really is the bedrock. In most standard English sentences, the subject pops up first, then the verb follows, right? The cat sat on the mat.
Sure, standard structure.
But with this existential there, the actual subject, the thing you're describing, gets pushed back. It comes after the verb.
So there is a cat on the mat. The cat comes later.
Exactly. And that subtle shift puts the emphasis squarely on the existence of the thing, not just the thing itself.
That's a really useful distinction. So if I say the computer is on the table, I'm focused on the computer.
Yep. The computer is the star.
But if I say, there's a computer on the table, the focus shifts slightly. It's more about the fact that a computer exists in that specific space.
Precisely. And that slight shift in focus makes it absolutely ideal for things like reports, descriptions, inventory checks, situations where you need objective mapping.
Makes sense. Okay, let's nail down the singular first. There is. The instruction here is very clear, quite strict, actually.
It has to be. For clarity.
Use there is only for singular count nouns. It's presented as like the non-negotiable way to get maximum clarity in a professional setting.
And the examples they give are classic, very functional.
Yeah, like there is a desk in my office. Simple. One desk, singular, so it has to be there is. Establishes that core workstation.
And the beauty is its simplicity, right? It aids immediate recall. Then you've got, there's a computer on the table. Again, one computer.
And that little word, the singular article, is a dead giveaway, isn't it? It signals that the singular verb is must follow the there.
Absolutely. It's a grammatical flag.
We also see it used for peripheral items and their location. There is a window near the desk. Still singular.
And finally, placing a shared resource. There is a printer next to the door. Again, one item linked to its location using there is. Consistent.
Okay, but let's introduce a bit of nuance here, especially for, our listeners who might be aiming for more advanced usage.
Good point. We also must use there is with something called non-count nouns.
Right. These are the tricky ones, things that don't usually have a plural form, or we treat them as a collective lump, even if there's a lot of it.
Exactly. Think about words like paper, equipment, or furniture.
So even if I've got a massive stack of paper on my desk, I wouldn't say there are paper. I'd still say there is paper on the desk.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Or think about furniture or equipment. You wouldn't normally say there are many equipments, would you?
No, sounds wrong.
You'd say there is much equipment in the room. Or maybe more simply, just there is equipment in the room.
Okay.
And this is really essential for professional language because workplaces are just full of these generic non-count concepts like staffing or storage or even information.
So that adds a layer, but it reinforces that basic singular structure there is for anything that we can't easily itemize and count one by one.
Precisely. Now let's flip to the other side. The countable plural, using there are.
Right. This is the signal that the quantity is more than one. And that forces the verb to shift from is to are.
And that shift instantly communicates quantity to the listener. It's a numbers game now.
The examples provided in the material show this perfectly. Like, there are 3 chairs in the room, clear quantity 3, plural noun chairs, therefore there are.
Makes perfect sense. Or describing resources within an organization. There are 2 printers in the office. Now we're counting individual machines.
Not like the general idea of equipment we just talked about.
Exactly. These are countable units.
We also see it for inventorying common supplies.
Yeah.
There are 4 notebooks on the shelf, and referring to things stored in bulk, there are many files in the cabinet.
You know, in a professional context, that switch from there is to there are often acts as a really quick metric for resource allocation, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, think about asking, is there a printer? Versus, are there 3 printers? Those 2 questions paint vastly different pictures of the resources available, right?
Yeah. Big difference in capability. Okay, so the crucial grammar insight here is noticing how the verb changes based on whether the noun is singular or plural. That's the core rule.
That's the core rule for formal clarity.
But let's talk about the real world for a second. Because the source material, it's quite prescriptive, aiming for that formal clarity. But, you know, in hurried office chat, things get contracted, don't they?
Oh, that's a fantastic point to bring up. Yes.
Yeah.
The material teaches you the baseline, the foundation for really impeccable formal communication, the kind of language you definitely use in a written memo or maybe a facility report.
Right, the official version.
But be in rapid, informal speech. English speakers very, very often default to the singular contraction, theirs, even when they're actually talking about plural things.
Yeah, I was thinking of that, like saying there's 3 people waiting outside instead of the technically correct there are 3 people waiting outside.
Exactly that. You hear it all the time. And the instructional material we're looking at correctly avoids teaching this shortcut.
Why is that, if it's so common?
Because relying on theirs for plurals, while common in speech, can lead to real confusion, especially in writing. And it should definitely be avoided in any kind of formal speech or presentation.
Okay, so the advice for you listening is?
Stick to the clear distinction, especially when you're learning or aiming for professional clarity. There is for one thing, or non-count things. There are for more than one countable thing. It just eliminates all ambiguity when you're doing that inventory, that mapping.
Master the formal rule first.
Exactly. The informal shortcuts, they'll probably come naturally later if you get more comfortable, but the rule provides that essential structural foundation. Don't skip it.
Okay, so we've kind of built the grammatical framework now, right? The walls, the foundation of our descriptive house.
Yeah, the structure's there.
Now we need to actually put things in the house. We need to inventory the contents. So we shift now to the specific nouns, the vocabulary you need to populate this professional space.
And the vocabulary selection in this material, it's really smart. It doesn't try to teach you everything. It focuses entirely on what you might call high-frequency functional English.
Meaning,
if you can confidently name these, 11 items?
That's 11, yeah.
If you know these 11 items, you can probably walk into almost any office in the English-speaking world and immediately start having a coherent conversation about how it's set up.
Right, you've got the basics covered.
Yeah.
Let's detail that list then, the 11 essential terms provided. We could maybe group them by function.
Good idea. Let's start with the absolute core, the personal workspace items.
Okay. Desk, chair, computer.
Those 3. Non-negotiable. They practically define the modern professional workstation, don't they? If you're describing an office, these almost have to come first.
Makes sense. Next up, maybe shared resources and communication tools.
Yep. So printer, telephone.
And notice the shift here, as you said earlier. These items often move from being personal to being part of the shared infrastructure.
Exactly. And printer often takes the plural form, printers, much more readily than desk does, because multiple people usually use it.
Good point. Okay, then we have storage and essential supplies.
Right. File cabinet, notebook, pen, paper.
File cabinet, that's a specific structure for organizing things.
Mm-hmm. And notice paper is in there again. That links back to our earlier discussion about non-count nouns, remember?
Ah, yeah. Because notebook and pen are countable, you can have 3 notebooks, 2 pens.
But paper itself, when you're talking about it as a general supply, is usually treated as singular non-count. There is paper, not there are papers generally.
Got it. And finally, the list includes items related to collaboration and meetings. These are pretty crucial in modern work, right?
Absolutely vital. So, whiteboard, conference table.
Let's pause on whiteboard for a second. It feels significant that it's included.
I think it is, yeah. It's not just another item. It kind of represents a functional shift in how offices work, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, think about older offices. You might have had a chalkboard, maybe, used more for fixed instruction.
Mm-hmm.
But the whiteboard, it facilitates collaborative brainstorming, dynamic content, real-time sketching of ideas. It's interactive.
So by including whiteboard, the source material kind of anchors the description firmly in a contemporary professional setting.
I think that's exactly right. It subtly updates the whole picture.
Okay, so that inventory, those 11 words, they allow us to build a pretty complete visual picture of a standard office.
Definitely.
Now, the material immediately shows how to put the grammar and the vocabulary together. It gives, I think, 3 or 4 specific combination examples.
Yeah, showing the structures right in action, practical application.
We see the singular use paired with a precise location. There's a computer on my desk. Short, concise, statement of fact and placement.
Yep. Then the plural use, quantifying a collaborative element. There are 3 chairs around the conference table. This tells us straight away about the capacity of that meeting space. 3 people can sit there.
Clear function. Then a singular resource is located. There is a whiteboard in the meeting room. Singular item, probably shared, easily locatable.
Mm-hmm.
And the final example uses a quantity, maybe less precise, of a countable item. There are many notebooks on the shelf. So plural, but using many instead of a specific number.
Right. Still signals plural, though. And what's really fascinating here, and this is where the source material really elevates itself beyond just simple grammar drills, is the crucial methodological tip that comes next.
Yes. This is about how you organize the description, isn't it? Rhetorical organization.
Exactly. Here's the advice, and it's key for clarity for you listening. Always start with the bigger things first, like tables, desks, or rooms, then move to smaller items like pens or notebooks.
Why is that advice so important?
Well, think about the cognitive benefit. When someone's listening to your description, their brain is actively trying to construct a visual map, right?
Yeah, picturing it.
If you start your description with, say, a pen, their mind immediately zooms in on this tiny, maybe insignificant detail. It doesn't know where to place it yet.
Okay, I see. No context.
But if you start with the room itself, or the main desk, or the big conference table, you're establishing the frame of reference first. You're setting the stage.
Like drawing the outline of the room before you put the furniture in?
Precisely. You establish the perimeter, the volume, the major focal points, the large stuff. And that drastically reduces the cognitive load on the listener. They can follow you much more easily.
And presumably it helps the speaker too.
Oh, absolutely. It gives you, the speaker, an inherent structural framework. You're not just randomly listing things you see, you're systematically mapping the space, usually from the outside in or from big to small. It follows a logic that's pretty universally understood.
So in a busy professional setting, that systematic approach means efficiency. You deliver a clear, organized blueprint of the room, not just a jumbled list of words that the other person has to sort out.
Exactly. Clear structure equals clear communication.
All right, so we've got the grammar structures locked down, hopefully. We've internalized the essential vocabulary. Now we get to the application phase.
Putting it all together.
Yeah, analyzing the structured method for building a complete, cohesive description. And the material specifically encourages you, the listener, to visualize your own space while doing this.
Which is a great tip, by the way. It really helps anchor the learning, makes it more concrete and easier to remember. Active visualization.
Definitely. Now, the strength of this section in the source is that it provides 2 distinct models. It shows how the same grammar rules work whether you're describing something small and personal or something larger and shared.
Adapting to scale, basically.
Exactly. Let's look at model 1 first, the personal workspace. This focuses on a smaller, maybe more intimate setting, like your own office cubicle. And interestingly, the description starts not with listing items, but by defining the quality of the space itself. My office is small but comfortable.
Ah, that's clever. That opening sentence provides immediate emotional and physical context, doesn't it? It manages expectations right from the start before you even get to the inventory.
Yeah, if you're telling a colleague about your space, you're kind of setting a little scene first.
A bit of narrative flavor.
Then the inventory sequence kicks in, and it follows that big to small rule perfectly. It starts with the main piece of furniture and its location. There is a desk near the window.
Okay, primary function established, oriented nicely towards a window, natural light. Makes sense.
Then it moves to what's on that main structure, the surface inventory and functionality. There is a computer and a telephone on the desk.
Right, the tools you use at the desk.
Okay, hang on. Let's pause here because this is a really crucial point, especially if you're aiming for absolute precision, like our listener might be.
Oof.
We have two items listed there, a computer and a telephone. So strictly speaking, shouldn't that sentence use the plural form? Shouldn't it be, there are a computer and a telephone, but the material uses there is. Why do you think that is?
That is a highly insightful question, and it perfectly illustrates a common grammatical phenomenon, especially in slightly more rapid or conversational description.
Okay.
While the source material is generally very strict about singular versus plural, using there is, followed by a compound list of singular items like this. It happens. It's often accepted when the speaker kind of perceives those items together as a single functional unit on the desk. They're describing the singular existence of the whole setup in that location.
Ah, I see. So it's like mentally grouping them.
Yeah.
There is this computer and telephone setup on the desk.
Sort of, yeah. It prioritizes the singular location or concept over the strict count of individual items sometimes. However, and this is important for the most rigorous clarity, especially if you were writing this down formally, the absolute grammatical rule would kick in. Since the cumulative subject, computer plus telephone, is plural.
It should be there are.
Formally, yes. There are a computer and a telephone on the desk. That's the safest, clearest bet for professional communication, particularly in writing.
Okay. So the material might be showing a slightly more conversational flow there, but the advice for our listener is, when in doubt or when aiming for maximum formality, stick to the strict rule. If you list multiple items, use there are.
Absolutely. Adhere to the strict rule first. Understand the exceptions later.
Okay.
Okay, continuing with that first model.
Right. After the desk setup, it addresses utility for others. There are 2 chairs for visitors. Here it clearly goes back to the explicit plural count. 2 chairs, there are.
Makes sense. Then, storage and its location relative to the main item. There's a file cabinet next to the desk. Defines the organization structure, places it nearby. Singular cabinet, there is.
And finally, it zooms into the smallest details, using the plural again. There are many notebooks and pens on the shelves.
And that sequence is just flawless, isn't it? Context first, small but comfortable, then main structure, desk, then surface items, computer phone, then utility chairs, then storage cabinet, and finally, small supplies, notebooks, pens. It creates this perfectly guided visual narrative, big to small, function by function.
Very logical flow. Now let's contrast that with Model 2, the larger workplace. This requires a broader overview, maybe something you'd use for onboarding a new team member, or maybe conducting an inventory audit for a whole department.
Right. The scale shifts, so the description needs to shift too.
Yeah.
And it does immediately. It starts by defining the overall structural components. The office has 3 rooms.
Ah, so we're scoping the entire environment before detailing the contents of any single room. That seems critical for larger spaces, facility management, maybe even real estate descriptions.
Definitely. You need the big picture first. Then it quantifies the major contents within the main area. There are 6 desks in the main room.
Okay, that immediately tells you about density, capacity, function. It's a hard metric. 6 workstations.
Exactly. Next, shared resources get located. There is a printer in the corner. A single, probably high-value asset, precisely placed. If this were an IT report, that location in the corner would be critical for maintenance or supply checks.
Good point. And finally, the model adds some ambient detail using the plural structure again to complete the picture. There are many plants near the windows.
Yeah, this isn't strictly necessary for pure function, maybe, but it adds a humanizing touch, doesn't it? It stops the description from sounding like just a sterile list of assets.
And again, it correctly uses there are because plants is plural.
And the material wraps up this whole section with some really essential guidance for the learner, urging you to focus on pronunciation and, importantly, mental processing.
Right, it says, speak slowly, using there is for one thing and there are for more than one. Why the emphasis on speaking slowly?
Well, speaking slowly isn't just about being clear to others. It's actually a technique for internalizing the grammar yourself. It forces your brain to consciously pause and choose the correct verb is or are based on the noun's quantity.
Ah, so it builds that connection, that sort of grammatical muscle memory.
Exactly. The goal is to build this structured awareness through deliberate practice and repetition. And it acknowledges that practice is the key. And crucially, that making small mistakes along the way is perfectly okay. It's part of the learning process.
Ew.
Which brings us really neatly to the crucial phase of actually internalizing all this, moving the knowledge from just passive understanding, okay, I get the rule, to active, fluent usage, making it automatic.
Yeah, being able to just do it without thinking too hard.
Precisely. And the instructional material provides a really nice, structured mini practice section, specifically designed to build that muscle memory and also, importantly, train your ear for auditory comprehension, listening for the difference.
Right. This is the repetition exercise bit. It seems ideal for immediate application right after learning the rules. Let's maybe analyze the 5 sentences they give because they're quite well chosen. They use not just their SR structure, but also those important prepositions of location.
Good idea. Okay, first one.
First, there is a desk in the middle of the room. Okay, singular noun, desk. So there is. Central focus, and it uses that specific spatial preposition in the middle of.
Perfect. Second, there are 3 computers on the desk. Now, it's plural, 3 computers, so there are. And it uses on, which is probably the most common preposition for surface placement, right? On the desk, on the table. Forces you to pair the plural verb with a specific quantity.
Yep. Third, there is a telephone next to the computer. Back to singular telephone, there is. But this one shows relative location, placing a smaller object precisely in relation to a larger one using next to. That's super common in real office talk, isn't it? Where's the stapler? Oh, it's next to the monitor.
Extremely common. Fourth sentence, there are 4 chairs around the table. Plural again, 4 chairs there are. Quantifying seating capacity. And notice the preposition around. You're not just saying the chairs exist, you're describing their orientation, their function relative to the table.
Good point. It implies a meeting or eating setup. And the 5th one. There is a whiteboard on the wall. Singular item, whiteboard, there is. Locating that collaboration tool using the standard on the wall.
So just repeating those 5 sentences out loud, maybe writing them down, it really solidifies not just the core grammar, but also the key vocabulary and those essential spatial prepositions all at the same time. Very efficient practice.
Okay, so once you've done that structured repetition, the material encourages the next step, the self-generation technique.
Ah, yes, making it your own.
The prompt is simple, but actually quite profound, isn't it? It just says, create personalized sentences using the formats there is a and there are.
It sounds basic, but this step is where the learning really becomes personal and starts to stick. The ultimate goal here, as the source material puts it, is to get comfortable speaking naturally about what you see around you.
So applying it to your immediate environment.
Exactly. If you can instantly look at your own cup, your own scattered notes, the window in your room, and generate a correct sentence, there is a cup, there are notes, there is a window, without having to mentally translate from your first language.
Then you've basically crossed the bridge. You've achieved functional fluency in this specific but very important area.
Precisely. And to make sure this self-practice connects to real communication, the material includes one more essential element: conversational dynamics.
Right, the little dialogue example.
Yeah, it gives a short, simple dialogue showing how this grammar and vocabulary actually function in a natural back and forth between 2 co-workers, let's call them A and B.
Why is that so important to include?
Because it demonstrates the structures being used not just in simple declarative statements, there's a desk, but also in interactive questioning and responding, which is how language is mostly used, right?
True. Okay, let's quickly walk through that flow. Coworker A starts with a typical social opening, a general query. Hi, how is your office? Ask for a general description or feeling.
Yep. And coworker B's response is super efficient. They give a quick positive context, it's nice, and then they immediately synthesize the structures we've been talking about. There's a big desk and a comfortable chair. They prioritize the main singular components first.
Following the rules, big items first, singular.
Then notice the seamless shift. There are also 2 computers. That quick change from there is to there are within a single turn, even a single breath, that's really the hallmark of fluent structured speaking in this context.
Okay. Then coworker A drills down, asks a specific functional question, and notice how they neatly invert the structure. That sounds great. Is there a printer?
Exactly. That's how you actually seek specific information in a real office conversation. Is there? Are there?
And B gives a clear, detailed affirmative answer, confirms existence, and adds the location. Yes, there is a printer in the corner. Essential info delivered.
But B doesn't stop there. They then layer on some additional, maybe secondary detail, correctly using the plural form for peripheral items. And there are many files on the shelf.
So that short little exchange perfectly shows the language being used organically to share info, confirm details, locate resources, all built on that simple, fundamental there-is-er structure.
It makes the learning concrete, shows the payoff.
Which leads directly to the final, really critical practice strategy outlined in the material.
The active practice.
Yeah. The suggestion to practice with a friend, and this is often overlooked, but so valuable to actually record yourself speaking.
Why is recording yourself so powerful?
Well, it forces you to become an objective listener to your own output, doesn't it? You can actually hear, did I say is when I really meant are? Did I fumble the preposition? Did I hesitate too much?
It's like instant feedback, a mechanism for self-correction, definitely. But let's also maybe talk for a second about the advanced real-world application of mastering this basic structure, because it goes way beyond just describing your own desk, right?
Okay, how so?
Yeah.
If the core lesson seems to be about these simple declarative sentences, how does that scale up to more complex professional tasks?
Well, think about any kind of professional documentation where absolute clarity is paramount. Think about incident reports, for example.
Okay.
There is damaged equipment near the east entrance. Clear, factual, locates the problem. Or inventory audits. There are 15 units missing from storage bay C. Quantifies the issue precisely.
Ah, I see. Using it for factual reporting.
Or even things like writing real estate listings or facility descriptions. You need to efficiently establish what exists and where. There is ample parking. There are stainless steel appliances in the kitchen.
Right. It's the most direct way to state existence and location.
Exactly. Mastering this simple declarative structure, there are, it becomes your most efficient rhetorical tool for immediate spatial establishment in pretty much any English professional text or conversation. You gain the power to create structured, repeatable, instantly understandable descriptions for almost any scenario. Hashtag tag outro.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize the main takeaways from this deep dive into, well, structured spatial description in English. We've really dissected this instructional material that offers a very efficient route to functional mastery in this specific area.
Yeah, I think we landed on 3 core takeaways, things you can immediately apply. First, really master that fundamental distinction of existence. Know when to use there is. That's for singular count nouns, and also those non-count nouns like paper or furniture.
Right, and use there are for plural count nouns, anything more than one that you can count. That distinction is just the structural backbone for clear description. Get that right first.
Absolutely. Second takeaway, internalize that essential, high-utility office vocabulary.
Yeah.
The desks, chairs, computers, printers, telephones, file cabinets, all those words from the list. You actually need the nouns to populate the grammatical structure.
Can't describe things if you don't know their names.
Exactly. Vocabulary is key. And third, apply that structural advice, the methodological tip, which we kind of identified as a cognitive hack, really.
The big to small rule.
Yeah. Practice describing your own workplace or any space, using these phrases naturally, but try to follow that big to small approach. Start with the room, the main furniture, then zoom in. It establishes context and genuinely reduces the cognitive load for your listener, makes you much easier to understand.
And we really can't overstate the need for repetition and that self-generation practice, can we?
No, absolutely not. Keep making those personalized sentences about your own environment. Keep speaking slowly at first, consciously choosing is or are. That structured practice is genuinely the only pathway to move this knowledge from just theory in your head into automatic, fluent communication. It needs reps.
Makes sense.
And maybe, just as final thought, if we take a step back and consider the underlying linguistic power here, think about this for a moment. How much of your daily life, really, whether you're navigating a new city, trying to explain a complex data structure to a colleague, even just tidying your room, how much of it is fundamentally built on your ability to efficiently establish the existence and location of things?
That's a broad application.
It is. That simple, there is our structure. It isn't just about inventorying desks and chairs in an office. It's arguably the universal mental foundation we use in English for organizing reality, for conveying spatial relationships, for mapping the world around us.
So it's more than just grammar.
I'd argue it is. It's a foundational tool for cognitive organization itself, expressed through language. So maybe a good exercise for you listening is just go look at your current environment right now, your room, your desk, whatever, and try mapping that reality using only there is and there are. See how much you can capture.